Hi students, this is Mrs. Mignell, and I'm going to walk you through the critical reading response in 4 parts. So first, as we have discussed in the past, you need quality sources for your academic papers. So the critical reading responses are on those quality sources. Please review the CRAP guidelines on, quality sources, which is you can also find in the SRS on critical reading responses. I'll make sure it's linked there. And I often give the analogy that for those of you who have baked a cake from scratch, using poor quality sources in an academic paper is very much like baking a cake from scratch and using dirt for flour and salt for sugar. The product is going to be inedible, and in your papers, the paper is. I'll talk about the purpose of the critical reading response, and I'll go over the parts, which is basically a MLA works cited page, something called a précis statement, connections or synthesis of sources, and then a response, which is how will you use the source in your paper. So first, the purpose of the critical reading response, and I call it a CRR, is one, to make sure that you understand the source well, that you can remember who said what. So remember to use the last name of the source rather than saying the author or the article. To be able to evaluate its quality so that you have a quality product, to differentiate one source from the other sources that you're using, and then to apply it to the paper that you're writing. So the parts which I have already gone over, right? The first one we're going to take a look at quickly is the MLA works cited citations, which you have already had a little bit of an introduction to, having already written the past 2 papers. The first section of the critical reading response is the MLA work citation on the source that you are focused on. And actually, a critical reading response is on 2 complementary sources. I will talk about that toward the end of this in section 4 of this PowerPoint. So you'll have 2 sources. Please take a look at the pocket style manual that was required for the course, or you can go online to Purdue University's online writing lab, or we call it OWL. Okay, I give you the basics of it, which I have already done in the past. That you need the author's name, author's last name, first name, the title of the article, and notice it's in quote marks, the title of the publication, which is italicized, the date. Actually, I'm going to change this, is actually going to be date. So you're going to day, month, year, and the pages or the URL. So page numbers are alphabetized according to the author's last name or the first word in an article title, in case you have an article that doesn't have an author. You're going to double space them because a MLA is double spaced. And here I have given you an example of 2 sources. This is actually the same article. What you'll find when you do enough research is that a print article will have a title, one title, and then an online version of the article might have a different title. I wanted to show you how the print one has the page numbers, and then I wanted to show you how the online one, the electronic one, had the URL. And then here's an example of the works cited page, and I've given you one that is alphabetized, it's hanging indented. I've given you an example of the author with the last names, even Tara Westover, so you know how to cite that. But I've also given you an example of a title that, and I'm actually going to capitalize this now, a title of a article that doesn't have an author, and how you put it, put the title there in quote marks, and that's how you list it alphabetically on your works cited page. There are many, many rules that govern works cited citations. They depend on a lot of things, and as you go, you'll learn more and more. You are responsible for teaching yourself how to use the MLA style. So you do need to be looking at the section in the Hacker Handbook or the Purdue OWL website that will show you the specifics. Okay. So, for example, there's the type of publication. So you can have a magazine, you can have a book chapter, a book, a film, and there's a lot of types of publications. And now, with this very different kind of world we live in, we have print, we have electronic, and sometimes we have audio files. We even have this one would be actually be film. Okay, so there's very many different kinds of format, and that all changes the way that you cite things. Another factor that has to be considered is how many authors are on the publication. So typically there's one or two authors, but there could be three, and there's style guidelines for up to 7. So you do need to take a look at the Hacker Handbook or the Purdue OWL online for those guidelines. In addition, we do have some citation management software. I do encourage you to play around with this. Maybe use 30 minutes of the class time to play around with Noodle tools. This is new. We're actually experimenting with this, hoping that it will help you cite your sources and keep track of your sources for your projects. If you go ahead and get that link, it says fresnocitycollege.libguides.com/AZ period PHP $A=N. So that actually brings you to the Fresno City College Library, the A through Z databases for N, because it's noodles, noodle tools. And you need to go on over to this block here on your right and scroll down. It says New Trial Databases, and there's Noodle Tools. And then if you click on the Noodle Tools, it will bring you to your sign in, and go ahead and sign in. For citation software, Noodle Tools is not the only citation software that's available. There are many other citation software, and I'm not saying that you have to use Noodle Tools, but do check out some of the other ones, RefWorks, Zotero, EndNote, Mendeley. I can't even pronounce some of them. Some of them may charge you, some of them might be free. The Noodle Tools will be free because it came with your tuition to Fresno City College. So check that out. And that's just to help you keep track of the sources that you use, how to cite them, and to even check in your papers how they're cited. I'm new to Noodle Tools, so I'm going to be experimenting with it too. So right here is the opportunity. Please pause the video and practice writing an MLA works cited citation for one of your sources. I have provided an example of the critical reading response in Canvas. So you can go on over to the guided notes, click on the SRS critical reading responses, and it will take you over to that page. And I provide the example of an actual MLA formatted critical reading response there. So you've practiced your works cited page, you looked up these things, and you have that started. So what questions do you have? And I have created an instructional materials question discussion board on Canvas. So here is our Canvas course page. That's now the guided notes. If you click on discussions, I have actually said questions online instructional materials, and I really don't know how this is going to work, but we will see if this works. As you read through the announcements, the guided notes, the tentative class assignments, and the assignments, you can also ask here, in addition to when I pause you in an instructional video and ask you for questions. So that is it for the first part of the critical reading response, the MLA works cited citations.